Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. Today's exciting episode is about clashing and mixing and matching prints and patterns. So I'll just talk about some general rules first, and then we'll get out some fabrics and see which ones work together and which ones clash fabulously.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So I was just going to do a general fabric KonMari, and then I was like, actually, I keep getting asked, there's going to be an update later on about my Tempest jacket, but I found an octopus, so I'm going to make a matching handbag, and that's going to be in it. Anyway, I was going to get out all my dressmaking fabrics and then put them in some random order, but instead, every time I do a layer cake dress, I get asked how I decide which patterns get mixed together. So I thought I'd do an episode on mixing, matching and clashing different prints and just the general rules and whether you should follow them or just ignore them. Spoiler alert. Of course, I think you should just ignore them. But I do get out all these fabrics, put them into colour piles, generally speaking, and then rearrange them. And this is a layer cake dress if you've never seen one. There's a whole episode on layer cake dresses and how to make them, the physical steps involved in making them. But before we get to that, let's talk about mixing, matching and clashing prints and patterns. So there's basic type of prints. Obviously you can get plain fabric, you can get textured fabric, fancy fabrics like jacquards also. The print is actually woven in, so it's more of a pattern than a print. And also there's classic or boring prints like checks, plaids, lines, dots, so those sort of ones. And then there's florals, and then there's bold geometric prints and things like that. And there's monochrome, or there's multicolored, or there's ones that are just in like one, all different pinks and reds and whites, and or ones that are just pastel and bright and things like that. So just a lot of people think that you should do it based on your colours, but I think you look nicer or happiest when you love something. So it doesn't actually matter if you're some random colour chart person said that colour shouldn't suit you. If you like what you're wearing, you got to smile more. That's all there is to it. And when you're happy, you look you look like someone that other people want in their life. So, that's my philosophy. But there certainly are formulas. So I've explained what obviously plain fabric is just one colour. Classic prints are the dots, stripes, houndstooth, anything that you could wear as a shirt under a suit to a conservative work environment, basically, except for florals. And and then florals, we know what florals are. And bold is something that's sort of got a lot going on. You probably couldn't wear it to in a conservative situation. So those are the terms I'm going to use. They're not terribly technical. So the formulas, a really popular one for people who are doing quote unquote style looks, are one plain garment, one classic print, and one or two bold prints. Or another one is two different florals and two textures. If you think that sounds interesting, then I would look at Dries van Noten, this designer here. His work is amazing. But if you look up street style pattern mix on Pinterest, you get loads of different loads of different options. And this is Stella Jean. That's another designer. She's pretty amazing. Or if you look up Gucci aesthetic or Gucci look, then that's more of the eclectic, colourful vintage items from different like something from the 60s and the 70s mixed together, or something from the 50s, something from the 60s and something from the 70s all worn together. So as some people call it the groovy grandma look. I like this, like a plain t-shirt and then something extra for the blazer, and something either plain trousers or something really extra for the trousers as well. And also, don't forget that your accessories are part of the equation too. A lot of people will wear like 3 different prints, but then wear all red accessories. So red handbag, red belt, red earrings, red, if you have your ears pierced, and red handbag. If you're only confident when all your accessories match, then by all means do that. But otherwise, I would definitely get experimental. Like I've got a bright neon green Valentino handbag, and I'll happily wear that with cowboy boots and black, classic black sunglasses, as well as a scarf that around my neck, which doesn't match anything, just clashes with everything, as well as a sash or a tie around the waist rather than a belt in a different fabric. So yeah, you can just don't default to thinking certain things must stay as they are. Just sort of switch out all different elements. I think you can't really find anything new unless you experiment and you make mistakes and you're like, go too far and you're like, oops, no. I don't think that's for me. Another thing I would caution against is finding someone and just taking a screenshot of their outfit, or, and trying to copy it exactly. If you see something you like, to take it off, close the window, take it off the screen, and just think about what you liked about it. And that way, yeah, if you liked that it was bright, or you liked that there was a clash of pastel and bright colours in there, then that's what you liked about it. 2 other things, and then we'll move on to mixing and matching actual fabrics. One, don't try and copy someone else's outfit. It's what you like about them is probably their personality, not who they are. Like, people love Audrey Hepburn, but when she was a teenager, she worked for the French Resistance. She's awesome. Yeah, she looked nice in her clothes, but she was just an awesome person. So I think, yeah, work on the awesome personality first rather than trying to wear a costume is my philosophy. And the other thing is, if you want to get into mixing patterns, don't just buy the same print in 2 or 3 different colorways and try and mix them. Because whenever I see people do that on YouTube or sewing Instagram, they're always really disappointed with it. And it's like, well, are you being experimental? Are you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, or did you choose the absolutely safest option and then you were disappointed with it being the absolute safest option? So yeah, just be experimental and have fun. And if it's a disaster, just pull it apart and make a patchwork dress out of it. That's what I do. So those are my general pointers on mixing and matching patterns. But I mean, I just love colour, so I just like playing with all different colours. So I've got out all my fabrics and I put them in vague colour order. Well, I started to, but then I got distracted and I just, there's some prints that I thought would look good together, so I started stacking them, and it's a big old mess. So then I decided to put some of them aside and just sort of go through them one stack at a time. So you can sort of see I've got a couple of fabrics like these ones here that are just one-off dresses. So I had 5 yards of this. I originally was going to make a 4-yard dress and then use the 5th yard to make one of these reversible jackets. So one side is 1 yard of fabric, the other side is 1 yard of fabric. One side has a different print, obviously. But then I remembered this dress, which is 5 yards of fabric, and it's absolutely luxurious. So now I'm thinking maybe all 5 yards will be the one dress. So yes, that is... Anyway, so it's only got to be one print is the takeaway. And these two, I bought 4 yards of the strawberry, and I also have about 4 or 5 yards of the pink broderie anglaise. They're both really, really thin fabrics, and I've got some plain pink cotton that I can use as the lining. So I'll set those aside, so I'm not going to mix them with any other patterns. I'm just going to, I might do like broderie on glaze layer, strawberry layer, broderie on glaze layer, and that way it'll look like a strawberry cake or something, or a vanilla sponge cake. Anyway, so I've set those aside, and now we've just got the prints. That one over there on the mannequin, I've actually got a dress out of that fabric, and so I bought an extra yard of that fabric to make one of those reversible jackets. So now I have to find a fabric that will be on the other side. So yeah, all of these are the sort of bluey aqua ones. Don't get too invested in all of these, because I actually find some more bluey aqua ones and then I split them in two. But yeah, I like them all together. There's just enough of a difference between all of them that you could actually see all the layers. They don't entirely blend together. I actually like that. I know some people would prefer it if everything was matchy. Like if you make quilts, then the way I mix and match and clash things would probably be a bit jarring. But my favourite fabric, one of my all-time favourite fabrics, is Chanel tweeds. And the design philosophy behind a Chanel tweed is that there's always got to be a grit that catches your eye. So there's always got to be something that's jarring so that your eye goes, what? And then it has to think about what it's looking at. So I absolutely love those. And as a result, I look for that in designs. So yes, and now we're moving on to, how do I describe these? Clearly I'm clashing prints, the dark red, the rust and blue. So anything that had those in it that were just not of the same genre. See how those four there's only half a yard of each of those. So I'm probably going to cut them up and make a patchwork layer inside the layer cake dress. But yeah, I just love, some of them look like vintage wallpaper to me. There's the leftover of the Liberty of London print, that sort of golden Chelsea Flower Show one. And yeah, none of them match, but once they're all together, I believe that they will clash nicely. I also have some fat quarters, so just it's a quarter of a yard, but instead of being a strip of a quarter of a yard, it's a square. So basically you just cut it in half and cut all four of them in half and stitch them together again. Oh, I should probably... So the dresses are just basically, these ones are one piece of fabric per layer, and you just pleat it down and sew it to the next one. And then of course I've got the more complicated layer cake dresses. You just make a bodice out of, either turn a shirt into a bodice or use an actual bodice from a dress. These are my three favorites. And I've also got the New Look blouse pattern for the puffy sleeve. And because it's puffy, you just cut it and it'll fit. You just pleat it down. And this is the Butterick 6677. That's such an awesome one. I haven't done the frill yet. Anyway, so this is my basic rule for a pull-on layer cake dress. So the three dresses that I showed you, the bodice is loose, so you can just pull it on over your head. If you like a fitted bodice, then use that bodice. And the skirt is just pleated down, so you don't need to... you could do whatever you want. But basically my rule is you double it for every single tier in the dress. Very clear in these patchwork ones. So it's 2 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards, 16 yards. But you can do whatever. So if you only want 1.5 yards or 1.5 meters in the top tier, then the next one will be 3, then double that to 6, then double that to 12. So just whatever. And also I happen to like a vintage bodice, which is much more cropped than a normal bodice. So I set aside half a yard for the bodice. But if you know what your favorite bodice is, it's probably 1 yard or 3/4 of a yard. Set aside that for the bodice. and then you just use up all the rest of your fabric in the dress, in the skirt of the dress. And the way I work out how much fabric I need in each, so I do 2 that are 16 yards long, 2 that are 8, 2 that are 4, 2 that are 2. So if you have 2-yard strips of fabric, then you can obviously, you don't need an entire 2-yard piece to get one strip of fabric. So yeah, just screenshot that thing there and you work out how many strips, how much fabric you need to get the number of strips to make the layer cake dress. It is very complicated, but they look awesome in the end. Now, this is another fabric. At this point, I decide I have to put some of the fabrics away because there's just too many of them. So that fabric I love, but it doesn't really look good with anything else. So I've decided, even though I have already a 4-yard vintage dress and a 4-yard Empire line dress with it, I'm going to use the other, I think, 5 yards to make a maxi dress. And then I've got the strawberry ones, set them aside, and I've also got the 5 yards of that one, so I've set that aside. I mean, they would all look absolutely adorable together, but anyway, let's not get distracted. So next up we have, this is 4 yards double width, so really 8 yards of fabric, and it's much more blue in person. I guess having the periwinkle one there sort of knocks it out. So I'm going to make 4-yard dress. 1 yard I'm going to make a double-sided jacket, and the other periwinkle one is going to be the opposite side of the jacket. This one I've got, again, 4 yards of the blue and white one on the left, and then I've got 2 yards of the Liberty of London with all the beautiful flowers on it, and then I've got about half a yard of the other Liberty of London one that I'm just going to cram in there. And with that dress made out of 3 different types of florals, I will wear a jacket that is the bamboo print. And then on the reverse side of the bamboo print is this linen cotton mix in navy blue. So yeah, the bamboo won't actually be in the dress. It'll just be a dress with 3 florals in it, but I'll mix it, sort of clash it with the bamboo print. Ooh, this is me remembering that I love pink and navy blue together. So maybe, but I've got a lot of that pink. So this one is weird, but I like it. So I love orange and pink together. Love, love, love. And then I just added other stuff that was weird. Like this vintage floral on the top is I only have 1 yard. It's left over. I use the other yard for a reversible summer jacket. And it doesn't actually have any hot pink or orange in there, but it's got salmon and red. And it just ties, and it's also got yellow dots in the middle of the flowers. So it ties into the candy cane, but it also, the white flowers in that one ties in with the plaid of the orange plaid that's got the white lines in it. So there's 4 yards of the orange plaid. I'm going to make a couple of jackets, but I think I'll use the other 2 yards in this dress. So a maxi dress can take anything from 6 yards to 8 to 10, just, it depends how much fabric you want to cram in there and how heavy you want your dress to be, really. Just a reminder, this is the leafy sea dragon one, seahorse one, and it's absolutely adorable. And because I'm using it in the skirt, you'll actually be able to see the print, whereas I previously thought I might use it to make a jacket, but you'd have to cut it down because jackets are so much smaller. I'm kind of happy with that choice. This is one there was only half a yard of that colourful fabric, and then so I bought it from the remnants, and then I'm going to use that for the bodice. And then I've got the Liberty of London, the blue leftover print, and 2 other prints that I'm going to use. This one is interesting because I had this vintage wallpaper one, and then I had to get up close. The mustardy coloured one actually has some scarlet flowers in it, so I just thought those 2 went well. And then the red, well, I don't know, I just sort of threw that in there to add a little bit of grit, but also it kind of goes, and it matches with the dinosaur fabric. And then there's another vintage one. They don't seem like they go, but they do in my mind. I was just, the reason, this one here, I absolutely love it, but it's got big white patches in it, which is weird. It doesn't really go. So that's why I ended up, and this dinosaur one, absolutely adore it. If you haven't seen the French movie Amélie, it's this woman Amélie lives in this apartment, and the family who lived there beforehand had a little boy, and he had this treasure chest that he left in the in a secret spot in the bathroom when they moved, and she finds it and it's got all these kids' toys in it. And yeah, this one is dinosaurs on it, and all the kids I know, like little boys, love dinosaurs. So I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like, and the other one's a vintage wallpaper in the movie Amélie. There's loads of gorgeous vintage wallpaper. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I designed this particular dress. It's like, I guess they don't seem like they match, but to me they do. And the reason I put the rose one in there is because it's vintage, but also it needed the white. So we'll see how it turns out. I think it's going to be cute. And I also like that some of my quirkier items have stories behind them, like the jacket I'm working on at the moment is the Tempest jacket. And I don't know, when you have the same things in your wardrobe for decades on end, it's nice that they have their own life and their own personality, and yeah, I like it. Anyway, so next we have the Ray of Sunshine. Yes, there really is enough here to do two different dresses, and I split them into two to prove that. I mean, it's obvious, but I don't know. I think I would much prefer them just as one big dress. I think I do have 3 yards of the bug fabric, but I already have a 1 yard 2-yard keyhole dress, so a simple dress out of the bug fabric, which I paired with the yellow floral jacket, and they look adorable together. So I think this is me just trying to decide which of the 2 fabrics I will use to make the jacket. So probably the bug on one side and the that sort of tablecloth looking fabric on the other side, maybe. But I also like that yellow one with the lavender, looks like fairy lavender flowers on it. That one's quite cute. So you can divide them into 2 different lots, but I just think one massive dress would be awesome because, as I said, I've already got the simple yellow dress, and I've also got this 6-yard dress of 3 different florals that I made this time last year. And I would absolutely love a mega maxi dress out of these ones with a matching reversible jacket. So 2 different yellows. It would just be so sunshiny and fabulous. And this is, I keep mentioning this Liberty of London fabric that I have in beige, apricot, black, white and grey, and I know it sounds terrible, but look at it, it's absolutely beautiful. And so this is the centerpiece for the next dress. It's like beige. I do have beige, and I was thinking maybe to add some beige, but I've just sort of kept it classic, black and white. So yes, classic Halloween prints. So this one, I've got 2 different Halloween prints. This one's the sketchy one, and then I've got it looks like it's been sketched, and the other one's the cartoon cats. I love the cats. They look so daft. They're just, I don't know, it's really cute. And then there's a quilting cotton in grey and white, and then also that apricot one. And then I'm going to make a jacket. Oh, and then I was going to make a jacket out of that other one, but yeah, I think I'm going to use half the Liberty of London to make a jacket, and the other side of the jacket is going to be this one here, because I've got another grey dress. It's a vintage 1939 dress, and it will look so cute with the jacket. And that one there, it's actually navy, but I think it kind of looks black. And if you have it in the dress with the Liberty of London print, it's actually going to, because it's so dark, it's going to make the flowers more obvious in the Liberty of London one. Plus, I like the idea of juxtaposing cartoon flowers with, really good illustration of flowers. So next we have, see, I found more blues and aqua colors. So yeah, this one's a bit weird because like the Paris one, I love that Paris fabric. And I just haven't been to Paris in so long. You know, when you get to the point where you haven't been somewhere in a while and you're just like, I just want to go. I just want to go. I better buy myself some ruby slippers. Anyway, so one side of my jacket is going to have that fabric. So I need another fabric that's going to be on the other side of it. And this is far too many fabrics. So I decided to get out some fat quarters that I have. Like I have 2 yards of one fat quarter fabric and I have 2.5 yards of a different one. So I decided to divide these into 2 different dresses. So these are, it's like 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard. And then they're going to be the 2 different sides of my reversible jacket that I can wear with that. And then the other one is kind of going to be a bit more clashy. And yeah, it's just going to be all different blues in that one. And again, it's pretty big, but I don't know. I think it'll be cute. It's got some pinks in there. So there we go. They're all stacked up. Oh my gosh. How am I going to make all these jackets and dresses? Well, anyway, spoiler alert, there ends up being about 19 dresses as well as several jackets. So I think if I make 3 a month or 4 a month, then I'll get them all done by the end of the year. Plus I have jackets to make and jackets to bead. This was kind of a leftovers one. And I don't know, I kind of like them together. But I mean, I might just make shirts or... I mean, that beige one on the right, I could just make a whole dress out of that. But yeah, anyway, so I might make a dress out of them, I might not. This one was kind of pink, hot pink and navy. It's not really picking it up, but that one has black base. So of all of these, there's like enough to make a dress, 8 yards for a dress plus 2 yards for a reversible jacket. So I'm thinking the pink Liberty of London for one side of the jacket and the Gucci-ish floral with the bows for the other side. But also this one here, I remembered that I wanted to maybe make a Chanel style jacket out of that and then overbead each of the flowers. So I might take that one out, might make the jacket out of those 2, and that leaves the second half of the pink Liberty of London plus those other 4 fabrics for the dress. And there's, yeah, so that would be 8 yards for the dress, I think, maybe. I don't know. I like them all, but I think that's what I'm going with. I did think about doing a Chanel style jacket out of 1 yard of the pink Liberty of London and then a summer jacket out of the other half, but no, I don't think I will. So this one, I got this out again to add 1 more fabric to it. This is the big old mess one with the 4 bits of remnant fabric. And there's a vintage one in there that's got maroon coloured flowers and white flowers as well. I just feel like it ties everything together so much more. So that's why that one's in there. But now the Liberty of London Chelsea's show one kind of sits out like a sore thumb. So I might take that one out. This one is just... I started with this because I love the olive in this one, and this has got poppies and olives grow in the same place. And then I've got the remains of this vintage, this is like 1 yard of that, and then this one's got a mustardy olive color to it, and this is the lemon fabric that's actually olive. So I guess I was thinking more about the words than the actual colors. So if you look at them, I'm not sure that this makes sense, but it's going to. It's through sheer force of will, which is my favorite thing. Yes, so this one I've got a ridiculous amount of that fabric. I think it's 3 yards or 4 yards, but it's double width, so it's twice as much. And then I was going to make separate jackets out of these, but then I saw them together and I was like, or I could make a ridiculous maxi dress. So yeah, I think I'm going to put these ones together, and they don't look like they should go, but through sheer force of will, they will. So yes, I'm going to make a maxi dress out of these ones, and they're sort of, these ones, I just think they look darling together. So this one's going to be a vintage dress because it's only like 2, 4, 5 yards of fabric, and maybe the other. I just think these 3 look beautiful together, and that's 5 yards of fabric. So I'm thinking those ones. The 4th one is a broderie on glaze in it. It's green, but it didn't show up as green, and I thought I'd make a jacket out of that. These ones, I love this fabric. I've got 2 yards of that, and then I just had these ones. I was getting kind of at the bottom of the barrel here. So 2 yards of all of them, and I don't know. I think they might look good together. I suspect they will. So the ones that I like less, I'll put at the bottom because you've got to have 16 yards round. It's going to be much thinner. And then these ones here, I just think orange and that sort of mauvey colour. Yeah, I think the bold print was where I started, and then I sort of added one on either side. I can see how you would think that the dark purple one doesn't go, but I don't know. If you take out the dark purple, then the one next to it sort of doesn't really mesh well with everything else. It's too beige. Like the big, massive psychedelic floral does have some beige in it, but not enough to balance it. So I think, in my opinion, adding that darker one, it's not actually that dark. It's got quite a lot of pink and apricot and orange in there as well. So yeah, it was getting a bit dark now. I should have set up some lights, but I'm a lazy daisy. So these 2, I've got 1 yard left of one, 2 yards of the other, and the Space Galaxy fabric, I think I've got like 3 yards of that, but I've also got loads of other, and then underneath I've got all my fat quarters. There's still dozens and dozens of fat quarters, so I guess I'll just make a maxi dress out of fat quarters. Actually, I've just remembered that I still have boxes of scrap fabric. I've cut them all into strips, and it's sorted into colours, so they're ready to go. And I think I was going to do a patchwork, like a big layer of strip of fat quarters and then a patchwork layer, and that way it'll take less time than doing the whole thing patchwork. Anyway, as I said, 19 dresses ready to go, as well as some reversible jackets. So I'm going to have to make at least 3 or 4 a month to get those all done by the end of the year. Oh, goodness me. But yeah, so that's how I mix, match and clash my patterns. Some I do based on colour, some I do based on a particular print and then sort of work out from there. And other ones, they're like words or ideas and I work from that. So I just have fun. I mean, what's the worst thing? You might have to pick it apart and use the rest in something else. So yeah, I think it's fun. Anyway, so quick update on the Tempest jacket. I'm just doing the sleeves now. So the whole of the front and the whole of the back, they're all done. And I'm just plodding away at the sleeves. So slowly, we're getting there. And yeah, the sleeves, there's actually quite a lot of fabric in them. So they do take longer they seem like they take longer. When you work on the torso of the jacket, there's a lot more freedom of movement when you're stitching, whereas when the sleeves are so confined, you can barely stick your arm inside, and then you've got to take the needle, turn it round, put it back out in the jacket, and yeah, and then when you're tying off each thread, that is quite the procedure. But yeah, anyway. Confirmation, if any was needed, that my workbench is an absolute mess. Yeah, I didn't end up using that candy shaped bead. Oh, I'm going to have to divide those back into there, like put the teal ones, the brown ones and the cream ones, all divide them again. Ugh, what a nightmare. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. It's a bit of a long one. I didn't expect it to be this long. I was like, I'll just quickly reshuffle all my fabrics, but it's just so much fun playing with your fabric stash. So yes, I hope you've been inspired to get out some lovely fabrics and mix and match and clash all those patterns and make something fabulous. Thanks again for watching and happy sewing!